Good evening. It's Mrs. Bloom here, and I am reading Artemis Fowl by Eoin Colfer, and we are in Chapter 6. We've been there for a while, but today will be our last day in Chapter 6. And if we remember, Artemis Fowl has taken Holly Short, an elf, captive. He knows a lot because he has the book. Commander Root is up as part of the LEP recon trying to rescue her. And so far, the people have been behind Artemis. Artemis has sort of been ahead of them at every turn. So, here we go with the end of Chapter 6, Siege. Root caught up with Foley at the base of the North Tower. The Centaur had parked a shuttle by the 3-foot-thick wall. Already the work area was a mess of tangled wires and pulsating fiber optics. "Foley, are you in there?" The Centaur's foil-capped head emerged from the belly of a disemboweled hard drive. "Over here, Commander. You come to push a button with my face, I presume." Root almost laughed. "Don't tell me you're looking for an apology, Foley. I've already had my quota for today, and that was to a lifelong friend." "Cudgeon? Forgive me, Commander, but I wouldn't waste my apologies on the lieutenant. He won't be wasting on you when he stabs you in the back." "You're wrong about him. Cudgeon's a good officer. A bit eager, certainly, but he'll do the right thing when the time comes." "The right thing for himself, maybe. I don't think Holly is the top of his priority list." Root didn't answer. He couldn't. "And another thing. I have a sneaking suspicion that young Artemis Fowl wanted us to stop time. After all, everything else we've tried has played straight into his hands." Root rubbed his temples. "That's impossible. How could a human know about the time stoppage? Anyway, this is no time for theorizing. Foley, I have less than 8 hours to clean up this mess. So what have you got for me?" Foley clopped over to an equipment rack clamped to the wall. "No heavy armament, that's for sure. Not after what happened to Retrieval 1. No helmet, either. That beast of a mudman seems to collect them. No. To show good faith, we're going to send you in unarmed and unarmored." Root snorted. "What man did you get that from?" "Standard operating procedure. Fostering trust speeds communication." "Oh, stop quoting. Give me something to shoot." "Suit yourself," sighed Foley, selecting what looked like a finger from the rack. "What's that?" "It's a finger. What does it look like?" "A finger," admitted Root. "Yes, but not an ordinary finger." He glanced around to make sure that no one else was watching. "The tip contains a pressurized dart. One shot only. You tap the knuckle with your thumb, and somebody goes Betty-bye." "Why haven't I seen this before?" "Well, it's kind of a covert thing." "And?" said Root suspiciously. "Well, there have been accidents." "Tell me, Foley." "Our agents keep forgetting they have it on." "Meaning they shoot themselves?" Foley nodded miserably. "One of our best sprites was picking his nose at last time. 3 days on the critical list." Root rolled the memory latex onto his index finger, where it immediately assumed the shape and flesh tone of the host digit. "Don't worry, Foley. I'm not a complete idiot. Anything else?" Foley unhooked what appeared to be a full sputum from the equipment rack. "You're not serious. What does that do?" "Nothing," admitted the Centaur, "but it gets a great laugh at parties." Root chuckled twice. That was a major lapse for him. "Okay, levity over. Are you going to wire me?" "Naturally. One iris cam. What color?" He peered into the commander's eyes. Mud brown." He selected a small vial from the shelf and removed the electronic contact lens from the fluid capsule. Plucking Root's eyelid with the finger and forefinger, he slotted in the iris cam. "That might irritate you. Best not try to rub it, or it could end up in the back of your eye. Then we'd be looking into your head, and there's nothing more interesting there, heavens knows." Root blinked, resisting the urge to knead his watering eye. "That it?" Foley nodded. "That's all we dare risk." The commander agreed reluctantly. His hip felt very light without his tri-barrel blaster dangling from it. "All right, I suppose this amazing dart finger will have to do. Honestly, Foley, if this blows up in my face, you'll be on the next shuttle back to Haven." The Centaur snickered. "Just be careful in the toilet." Root didn't laugh. There were some things you just didn't joke about. Artemis' watch had stopped. It was as though Greenwich wasn't there anymore, or perhaps, mused Artemis, we're the ones who have disappeared. He checked CNN. It had frozen. A picture of Riz Khan jittered slightly on the screen. Artemis could not hold back a satisfied smile. They'd done it, just like the book said. The LEP had stopped time. All according to plan. Time to check out a theory. Artemis wheeled over to the monitor bank and punched up the MAM cam on the 28-inch main monitor. Eoin Fowl was no longer in the Chase lounge. Artemis panned around the room. It was empty. His mother had gone. Disappeared. His smile widened, perfect, just as he'd suspected. Artemis switched his attention to Holly Short. She was banging the bed again. Occasionally she would rise from the mattress, pounding the wall with her bare fists. Maybe it was more than frustration. Could there be a method in her madness? He tapped the monitor with a slim finger. What are you up to, Captain? What's your little plan? He was distracted by a moment on the Avenue monitor. At last, he breathed. The games begin. A figure was advancing down the avenue, small but imposing nonetheless. Unshielded, too. Finished play acting, then. Artemis punched the intercom button. Butler, we have a guest. I'll show him in. You get back here and police the surveillance cameras. Butler's voice came back tinny through the speaker. 10-4, Artemis. On my way. Artemis buttoned his designer jacket, pausing at the mirror to straighten his tie. The trick to negotiation was to hold all the cards going in, and even if you didn't, try to look as though you did. Artemis put on his best sinister face. Evil, he told himself. Evil, but highly intelligent and determined. Don't forget determined. He put a hand on the doorknob. Steady now, deep breaths, and try not to think about the possibility that you have misjudged the situation and are about to be shot dead. 1, 2, 3. He opened the door. Good evening, he said, every inch the gracious host. I'll buy it, a sinister, evil, intelligent, and determined one. Root stood on the doorstep, palms up, the universal gesture for, look, I'm not carrying a big murderous weapon. You're Fowl? Artemis Fowl, at your service. And you are? Lep Commander Root. Right, we know each other's names, so, can we get on with this? Certainly. Root decided to take a chance and took out his weapon. Step outside, then, where I can see you. Artemis' face hardened. Have you learned nothing from my demonstrations? The ship, your commandos? Do I need to kill someone? No, said Root hurriedly. You only meant to lure me outside, where I could be snatched and used to trade. Please, Commander Root, raise your game, or send someone intelligent. Root felt the blood pump through his cheeks. Now you listen to me, you young... Artemis smiled in command again. Not very good negotiations technique, Commander, to lose your cool before we even get to the table. Root took several deep breaths. Fine, whatever you say. Where would you prefer to conduct our talks? Inside, of course. You have my permission to enter. But remember, Captain Short's life is in your hands. Be careful with it. Root followed his host down the vaulted hallway. Generations of fowls glared down at him from the classical portraits. They passed through a stained oak doorway to a long conference room. There were 2 places set at the round table, complete with pads, ashtrays, and water jugs. Root was delighted to see the ashtrays, and immediately pulled a half-chewed cigar from his vest. Maybe you're not such a barbarian after all, he grunted, exhaling a huge cloud of green smoke. The commander ignored the water jugs, instead pouring himself a shot of something purple from a hip flask. He drank, deeply, belched, and sat. Ready? Artemis shuffled his notes like a news anchor. Here's the situation as I see it. I have the means to expose your subterranean existence, and you are powerless to stop me. So basically whatever I ask for is a small price to pay. Root spat out a shred of fungus tobacco. So, you think you can put all this information out over the internet? Well, not immediately, not with the time stop in effect. Root choked on a lungful of smoke. Their eighth in the hole, gone. Well, if you know about the time stop, you must also know that you are completely cut off from the outside world. You are, in effect, powerless. Artemis jotted a note on the pad. Let's save some time here. I grow weary of your clumsy bluffs. In the case of an abduction, the LEP will first send a crack retrieval team to get back what has been lost. You've done so. Excuse me while I titter. Crack team, honestly. A Cub Scout patrol armed with water pistols could have defeated them. Root fumed silently, taking out his anger on the cigar butt. The next official step is negotiation, and finally, when the 8-hour time limit is about to run out, and if no solution can be reached, a biobomb is detonated, contained by the time field. You appear to know an awful lot about us, Master Fowl. I don't suppose you'd tell me how. Correct. Root mashed the remains of his cigar into the crystal ashtray. So let's have it. What are your demands? 1 demand. Singular. Artemis slid his notepad across the polished table. Root read what was written there. 1 ton of 24-karat gold, small, unmarked ingots only. You can't be serious. Oh, but I am. Root sat forward in his chair. Don't you see? Your position is untenable. Either you give us back Captain Short, or we will be forced to kill you all. There's no middle ground. We don't negotiate, not really. I'm just here to explain the facts to you. Artemis smiled his vampire smile. Oh, but you will negotiate with me, Commander. Oh, really? What makes you so special? I am special because I know how to escape the time field. Impossible, snorted Root. Can't be done. Oh, yes it can. Trust me, I haven't been wrong yet. Root tore off the top page, folding it into his pocket. I'll have to think about this. Take your time. We have 8 hours. 7.5 hours when time's up for everybody. Root said nothing for a long while, tapping his nails on the tabletop. He took a breath to speak, then changed his mind and stood abruptly. We'll be in touch. Don't worry. I'll see myself out. Artemis pushed his chair back. You do that, but remember this. None of your race has permission to enter here while I'm alive. Root stalked down the hallway, glaring back at the oil paintings. Better to leave now and process this new information. The Fowl Boy was indeed a slippery opponent, but he was making one basic mistake. The assumption that Root would play by the rules. However, Julius Root hadn't gotten his commander's drops by following any rule book. Time for a bit of unorthodox action. The videotape from Root's iris cam was being reviewed by experts. You see there, said Professor Cumulus, a behavioral specialist, that twitch, she's lying. Nonsense, huffed Dr. Aragon, a psychologist from below the United States. He's itchy, that's all. He's itchy, so he scratches. Nothing sinister in that. Cumulus turned to Foley. Listen to him. How can I be expected to work with such a charlatan? Witch doctor, countered Aragon. Foley raised his hairy palms. Gentlemen, please, we need agreement here. A concrete profile. No use, said Aragon. I can't work with these conditions. Cumulus folded his arms. If he can't work, neither can I. Root strode through the shuttle double doors. His trademark purple complexion was even rosier than usual. This human's toying with us. I will not have it. Now what did our experts make of the tape? Foley moved slightly to the side, allowing the commander a clear run at the so-called experts. Apparently, they can't work in these conditions. Root's eyes narrowed to slits, bringing his prey into sharp focus. Excuse me? The good doctor is a half-wit, said Cumulus, unfamiliar with the commander's temper. I'm a half-wit? Stuttered Aragon, equally ignorant. What about you, you cave fairy? Plastering your absurd interpretations on the most innocent of gestures. Innocent? The boy is a bag of nerves, obviously lying. It's textbook. Root slammed a clenched fist on the table, sending a spiderweb of cracks scurrying across his surface. Silence! There was, instantly. Now you two experts are handsome retainers for your profiling work, correct? The pair nodded, afraid to speak in case that broke the silence rule. This is probably the case of your lives, so I want you to concentrate very hard. Understood? More nods. Root popped the camera out of his weeping eye. Fast forward it, Foley, to the end. The tape hopped forward erratically. On screen, Root followed the human to his conference room. There, stop it there. Can you zoom in on his face? Can I zoom in on his face? Snorted Foley. Can a dwarf steal the web from under a spider? Yes, replied Root. That was a rhetorical question, actually. I don't need a grammar lesson, Foley. Just zoom in, would you? Foley ground his tombstone teeth. Okay, boss, will do. The centaur's fingers prodded the keyboard with lightning speed. Artemis's visage grew to fill the plasma screen. I advise you to listen, said Root, squeezing the expert's shoulders. This is a pivotal moment in your careers. I am special, said the mouth on the screen, because I can escape the time field. Now tell me, said Root, is he lying? Run it again, said Cumulus. Show me the eyes. Agron nodded. Yes, just the eyes. Foley tapped a few more keys, and Artemis' deep blue eyes expanded to the width of the screen. I am special, boomed the voice, because I can escape the time field. Well, is he lying? Cumulus and Aragon looked at each other, all traces of antagonism gone. No, they both said simultaneously. He's telling the truth, added the behaviorist. Or, clarified the psychologist, at least he thinks he is. Root swabbed his eye with cleansing solution. That's what I thought. When I had looked that human in the face, I figured he was either a genius or crazy. Artemis' cool eyes glared from the screen. So which is it? Asked Foley. Genius or crazy? Root grabbed his tri-barreled blaster from the gun rack. What's the difference? He snapped, strapping his trusty weapon to his hip. Get me an outside line to E1. This foul person seems to know all of our rules, so it's time to break a few. And that's the end of Chapter 6. I hope you all have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow.